Greetings, brothers and sisters. Tonight is January 17th, 2023. It's 8:11 p.m. and we are continuing our UNIA-ACL officers training, the message to the people, the course of African philosophy by Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey. It is so. First thing we want to do is our pledge to the red, black, and green flag. So if you would please face your black flag, put your fists in the air, repeat after me. I commit my body, mind, and spirit.
I commit my body,
mind, and spirit
to the protection, defense, and security.
To the protection, defense, and security.
Of the red, the black, and the green.
Of the red, the black, and the green.
I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa.
I dedicate my life
to the redemption of Mother Africa.
And the liberation of her scattered black children.
And the liberation
of her scattered black children.
I accept for myself and my descendants.
I accept for myself and my descendants.
The teachings of universal African nationalism.
The teachings of universal African nationalism.
And I promise that our children will be instilled.
And I promise that our children will be instilled
with the purpose and knowledge of themselves.
With the purpose and knowledge of themselves.
As African people.
As African people.
In order that the cause of our struggle. Will neither falter nor fail. Until all black people are free and united.
Until all black people are free and united.
Through one God.
Through one God.
One aim.
One aim.
And one destiny.
One destiny.
Race first.
Race first.
So we do got a lot to go over, but I do want to open the floor for anybody have any questions or comments before we got into the questions. Okay. Wonderful. All right. So we got to do questions on lesson 14, self-initiative, as well as lesson 15, personality. And then we will read lesson 16, propaganda. Brief roll call so far. We got myself, Brother John in Atlanta, Brother Art representing the Atlanta division, Sister Brenda Amoakan out of representing Chicago as well as Philadelphia International Headquarters, Sister Erica, member of Division 421, and Brother Omasius, member of Division 421 and Commissioner of District 2. So we have 6 on the call to get us started. So first question, what is our single responsibility in life? Self-initiative. What is our single responsibility in life? If you only got one thing, what is that one thing?
To live fully.
Is that what it is? You might be right. Anybody else?
What did he say?
To live fully?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Sorry, I got some. Every man is his own responsibility. Hold on.
It does say that in the first sentence. Every man is his own responsibility in life. But it says the purpose of life is to live fully.
Oh, see, no. That's 2 different questions.
Yeah, I see. That is 2 different questions.
See, y'all jumping ahead. Y'all got the answer to the next question. I'm trying to share. I might need to. Let me run and grab some water. Oh. Trying to rush. That's what I get. Page 113 is where it starts, I guess. like one universe. It's really 113? That don't sound right. Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, every man is his own responsibility in life. Nature never made anyone dually, but singly. Therefore, you have your single responsibility. So very first, just to ground us, I believe, I'm trying to think of what Garvey's intentions was when he was writing all of this. But the very first thing he says, every man is his own responsibility. So that's any questions, comments? Yeah, next question, what is the purpose of life and what is the duty of man? So what is the purpose of life? Am I back on the right? Yeah, I am, okay. What was the purpose of life?
To live fully.
And what is the duty of man?
To fall back on himself for what he wants.
Yes, sir. As Garvey says in the second paragraph, the purpose of life is to live fully. Hence, the single man must be complete, and in fact, it is so with every man. Hence, the single life must be complete, and in fact, it is so with every man. But that's not talking about like the single life as in marriage, but the individual life, the lives we have. Therefore, it is the duty of every man to fall back on himself for whatever he wants. Questions, comments on that? Title of this lesson again, self-reliance. Very first two paragraphs, we are our own responsibilities, and it is our duty to fall back on ourselves instead of being reliant on others. We clear so far? Questions, comments? Okay. Now, so we've acknowledged that we are our own responsibility, and purpose of life is to live fully, and we must fall back on for ourselves for anything that we want. Why should individuals decide for themselves what they should do? Why should the individual decide for themselves what they should do? And that speaks for us as well as for others. Why should others allow us to speak for ourselves? And why should we allow others to speak for themselves? Come on, y'all. Okay, y'all playing around. Basically, the individual should know what is best for themselves. So, let's see. Yeah. That should be, we should at least had some attempts at things that we thought for that one. But Garvey says, therefore he must develop his faculties, rely on himself for initiating all those things. Whatever he wants to do should first come from himself, as he should know what is best for himself. Advice may be helpful, but only to the extent that you have reason and judgment enough to see the value of the advice. And again, this goes back to lesson 1, where Garvey talked about we don't have to accept things as they're given to us. If they don't make sense within our own mind, our own reason, our own logic, we don't have to agree with it. Advice may be helpful, but only to the extent that you have reason and judgment enough to see the value of the advice. Otherwise, it may be harmful. Very few people, if any, who advise others do so completely honestly. Generally, they advise with a motive for which the individual may pay the price, whatever the price may be. But at the end of the day, individuals should speak for themselves because they should know what is best for themselves. All right. Any questions, comments so far? What is the best individual policy regarding self-initiative? What is the best individual policy? I don't even know the answer to this one. Do for self. What is the best individual policy?
The individual should be that the individual develop in himself or herself the courage to do things on his or her own account.
So that's synonymous with do for self. But yes, Sister, not gonna say brother, my apologies. Sister Brenda read that correctly. As Garvey says on page 114, therefore the best individual policy. And I like to stress and focus on things like when Garvey talks about best, because again, this is Garvey at the end of his life, after he's, had the experience of building, losing, surviving, having to move around, being exiled from the country, all of his networking that he's done. He says the best individual policy should be that the individual develop in himself or herself the courage to do things on his or her own account, always counting the cost and benefits or bad results. So anybody remember the Brother Mason? I know you remember, but anybody remember Garvey's famous quote on confidence? Because that reminds me of that quote. Garvey's famous quote on confidence. You can probably Google it right now to come up. Come on, Garveyites. We and this is another thing. I'm gonna give y'all some time, but we have to take on 3 specific responsibilities as Garveyites, as members of the UNIA, as leaders. We have to present. Let me see. Where is it? Wait, I forgot that. Now I'm forgetting it. But one of the things, hold on, it's represent. It's not present, represent. One of them is represent, and the other is defend. But if somebody said, Garvey said a famous quote, and it's not something that is true to us, we have to call them out on that. But or if they misquote Garvey or one of our past leaders, we have to correct that. And Garvey talks about that as well. But what was Garvey's famous quote on confidence?
Is that for anybody?
That's for anybody.
If you have no confidence in self, then you twice defeated in the race of life.
Yes, sir. Pretty much. Without confidence, we are twice defeated. With confidence, we have won before the race has started. Garvey is encouraging us to develop courage to do things on our own and have belief in our own abilities. Any questions, comments? But we should be confident. Developing themselves courage to do things on his or her own account. When we fail to take self-initiative, what do we become? When we fail to take self-initiative, what do we become, according to Garvey? Wait with me. We got a lot to go over. I need, we got to run through this. The person who fails to be true to himself and taking the initiative to do things. Yes, a sucker specifically for others. But yes, the word is sucker. Let me read this again. The person who fails to be true to himself and taking the initiative to do things for himself will ultimately find out that he or she has been a sucker for others. Always surround yourself with the talent of being able to do by yourself so as to not be too dependent. But Garvey brings this up again. in lesson on self-initiative, he talked about it previously in regards to will, when we were talking about will. And he said, if we don't have our own self-will, we forfeit that will to someone else who does have that ability or competence. So in addition to having our own will, we must have our own initiative. But yeah, questions, comments? Sucker for others. When we don't have our own self-initiative, when we don't have our own ideas, when we don't know what we should do for ourselves, that's when people come in and say, hey, you should do this, you should have this, y'all should buy this, you should, support this. And you basically become fuel for their movement because you don't have anything of your own. And we can't be in that position. What is the root of self-reliance? So I kind of just answered this, but Garvey has in this lesson, he talks about something is related to something else, something related to something else, something related to something else. And at the end is self-reliance, but it starts with something specific. And I actually just mentioned it a while ago. So what is the root of self-reliance? Where does self-reliance start? Because self-reliance is kind of, it's towards the end of how Garvey laid it out. But what was the first beginning of self-reliance? What, if we don't even have self-reliance, what is the bare minimum that we should have?
The bare minimum?
Yes.
Self-responsibility?
Close.
Confidence?
I like confidence. That's a good one. That's a good one to throw out there. But Garvey uses the word will.
Okay.
So we should have our own will. Even if we don't have initiative to do things, you should at least have an idea of what you want to do. Let me see. If your facts are as good as is known and can possibly be gathered on a particular thing. So again, going back to lesson 1, if somebody presents something, but it's contrary to all of the information that you've gathered over your life, if your facts are as good as known and can possibly be gathered on a particular thing on which a decision is to be based, then don't allow anyone but God Almighty to alter your will, because your will is your decision. So if somebody asks you a question, your will is your decision. And your decision is your intelligence. That decision is based on your intelligence. And your intelligence is your personality. That's something that we talk about in the next lesson. And your personality is your self-confidence and your initiative. At the end, we have personality, self-confidence, and initiative. But at the beginning, we must have our own will at the very least. If you don't have your will, you can't make your own decision. If you don't make your own decisions, how can you say you're using your own intelligence? So questions, comments? Always maintain a strong will. Your will is your decision. Always maintain a strong will. When should we call for help from others? When is the right time in a situation to call for help from others? And this is no particular case. This is a general answer that can be applied to all situations. When should we call for help from others? In the beginning, right when we start, is it a plan B?
Never.
Only when you're completely satisfied that you cannot do what you're trying to do.
It's pretty much never, kinda, but not, never is strong, because there will be times when we we need help. Always try to help yourself. Only when you, as Brother Art, I believe, said, only when you are completely satisfied that you do not have the ability, knowledge, character, and strength to do for yourself, should you call anyone to help you. So these are not my words. These are Garvey's words. He also elaborates, when you ask others for help, when you ask others to help you over anything, be sure that they are your very, very, very good friends or relatives, because if the thing you ask them to help you out of may be valuable to you and would be of value to others, they might take the value for themselves. But that's going into trust. But at the end of the day, in this lesson titled Self-Initiative, Garvey tells us specifically that we should not ask for help until we have exhausted all abilities within ourselves. Yes, after we've exhausted our resources. I would say abilities as well as, you don't want to just throw your resources out without applying your abilities. It's like trying to think of something. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's things that people can do around the house themselves, or they can outsource it to someone else. There's things that you can do with your car yourself, or you can outsource it. You don't want to. Your resources shouldn't, I don't think, should be your first line of defense, but that is part of it. Any questions, comments on that? When we should ask for help? Okay. Yeah. Always try to help yourself. Only when you're completely satisfied, you do not have the ability, knowledge, character, and strength to do for yourself, should you call anyone to help you. Why must we only ask for help from very, very, very good friends or relatives? And I read this. I just read that.
Because somebody might take the value of it.
Yes.
And use it for themselves.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely, Brother Art. But because the thing you ask them to help you out of may be valuable to you and will be of value to others, they may take the value for themselves, and all that you will get for calling in someone else to do something for you that you should do for yourself is disappointment. We are our own responsibility, and we should be doing for ourselves before we ask anyone else for assistance. That's one of the big summaries that I got from pages 113 to 115. Question 9. Why can no man say that there is no God? And how is man limited in life and death? Why can no man say that there is no God? Why can no man say that there is no God?
Good evening.
Y'all playing around.
Because no man is like God. We have limited intelligence. We don't know enough.
There you go. What lesson did we talk about that in? Do anybody remember? Should be obvious.
Good. Excuse me, Adam.
I heard you. I heard everybody else too. I can hear her in the other room. God.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. This is Andrew. I'm sorry, Brother Andrew. Thank you. Just checking in. Can I ask one quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is the test in March, is it going to be an open book test or memorization?
It'll be open book.
Oh, okay then.
But it'll be timed as well. It'll be 4 hours.
4 hours?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's a long exam.
Yes, it is.
Is that really so, John, Brother John? Is 4 hours one shot, or is 2 hours on
Brother
a Wednesday and then
Brother
2
Everett
hours on a
on the phone?
Friday?
Is Brother Everett
Excuse me?
on?
Yeah, my question was it 4 hours one shot, or is broken up over, several days? Like, Monday you do 2 hours, Wednesday you do 1 hour, like this.
It's one session.
Why so long? 4 hours that's lengthy.
Why so long? I wish one of the individuals that took the test last year was here, but well, let me ask you like this, and we got to. This is a brief. I don't want to make this segue too long. How long do you think it? Well, what do people think is the purpose of this course?
I mean, obviously the purpose of the course is to understand the philosophy of Gavi on a much deeper level than just the surface, right? You wanna go to the under levels to understand it to its core. So this is what I get out of these sessions.
Yes. There are 22 written lessons. How many questions do you think can come out of, should come out of these 22 lessons?
Many. Almost an infinite amount of questions could come out of it.
Okay. So how long do you think the exam should take?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have what I'm saying is it could be 4 hours, but I was wondering why it is 4 hours one session. How come it's not like, all right, we do 2 hours on a Monday and you do 2 hours on a Wednesday or something, along. You understand what I'm saying? If it was broken up, it would be, but this, 4 hours is pretty long for an exam.
Yes, it is. Do we take 4 hours? Let me ask you a question.
Sister Elon
Yeah.
asked a question, I think, in the chat. And she said, or she made a statement.
No, it is only 4 hours.
Question.
It take that long to finish. Yeah, you can finish less than 4 hours.
Okay. Well, that's in it. Anyway, ain't no problem, brother John. I'm gonna do it.
Well, let
That's
me
why,
ask you something.
that's why I'm attending these meetings.
I know where I was going, Brother Art. Do we take 4-hour exams for white institutions?
Not that I have. No, I can't remember doing that. And I went to school.
SAT.
Am I the only one that has taken 4-hour exams in school? SAT?
Yes.
Good example.
I think it's longer than 4 hours.
Any type of licensing, you have to sit for an exam that's usually about 3 to 4 hours.
So
like real estate license, that type of stuff, those tests, that's like 4 hours.
So, we have to ask. I understand I understand, Brother Andrew, but we have to ask ourselves, how important is this? And what level? Hold on. What level of importance do we put this in comparison to other things that we've sacrificed 4 hours for? The Super Bowl is a 4-hour event. I don't see people saying the Super Bowl too long. But it is.
That's not the point. I was just saying that I didn't expect it to be as long as 4 hours. That is all. And I was asking if it was going to be broken up into different sessions. That's 2 hours here, 2 hours there. But big thing.
Brother Andrew, yeah, no. Listen, this is a sacrifice that I'm asking of the individuals, but you also must understand this is a sacrifice that I have to make.
Right.
I have to be
And then-
there. I have to be here. No one put this together for me. Everything that we're going through, the questions, it took me much longer than 4 hours to put this stuff together. It's going on years. So again, we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to sacrifice? And what type of progress do we want to see, not only from ourselves, but from our community? And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. It's a new year. It's 2023. We as Garveyites have been sitting on this information. Not technically, but we've been doing our job. But this book has been out since 1985, and we have yet to develop a course and curriculum since that time. This is my attempt to do that. If someone wishes to come later and modify it and try to, shorten it, that's on them. But when it comes to what I put my name on and the expectation that I have from individuals to say that they've passed a course of African philosophy that I was a part of, there's a certain level of expectations, and there's a certain level of I need to see. I need to be able to see and trust that we know this information before I sign off and say that I've certified an individual in this course.
I see. All right.
This is nothing.
All right. Then. Well, so why did it take that long? 85. Why it took so many years for this to develop?
You're asking me?
Yeah, man.
You're asking the person that's trying to do it, one of the youngest people in the movement, that's trying to create what hasn't been created. You're asking me why it took so long?
Yes, Brother John, I'm asking.
My answer would be,
Well, if you don't have an answer, you can
no,
say,
no,
I
no.
can get back to you on that. You can get, like as a teacher, I'm a teacher, right? If I don't have an answer, I'll tell the kids, I'll get back to you.
Well, this is 8:43. We still got a lot to go over. But the reason why you said that, why did it take so? Yeah, the reason why it took so long is somebody dropped the ball. The document, and that's another reason why this course is so important and why the exam is so important. We have to know the history and we have to understand how we got to where we are right now. I believe Marcus Garvey did his job. 1937, he taught this course. 1938, he taught this course. We have the list of graduates. 1940, he transitions. At that time, the ball has been passed. As far as what happened 1940 to 1985, I can't speak to that. 1985, what I can say is Honorable Charles L. James took it upon himself, as well as, was he President General at that time? Yes, he was. Yes, he was. I'm thinking a little bit later. But Charles L. James was President General at that time, appointed Tony Martin to document this. So in 1985, we had a published documented course. What happened from 1985 to 2019, I cannot speak to that. But when I took the course in 2019 under President Ross Marvin, we knew, and he even knew at that time, that this is something that is critical for the development of the UNIA and for the development of people that wish to consider themselves leaders of the UNIA. So at that time, we took it upon ourselves to do our best to develop this course. And this is where we are right now. But I don't know if that answers your question. And we got some hands up for you. Great line of questioning to his answer. Target vote kind of says for me, my bad.
I appreciate it, Brother John. Much respect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brother Mason, you gotta, Sister Brenda first. Let me go to Sister Brenda.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to point out for Brother Andrew that the orientation course final is 7 hours.
Mm. Mhm.
So 7 hours, one setting.
Thank you. And I think we actually all need all 7 hours for the amount of information that we went over.
I appreciate it.
Brother Omasius.
President, you also often talk about the endurance that the original members had to display when going through the course.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit more. I forget the time frame they had to stay with Garvey.
Yes, sir. So yes, and again, this is something that we talked about in the preface and the foreword. So in 1937, when Garvey first taught this course, it was a 30-day, well, I don't know if it was 30 days, but it was every day. And they had 8-hour classes. And after their 8-hour classes, they had lectures. And they not only were required to complete an exam at the end of the course, but they were also required to handwrite each of the lessons. At this time, and this is something that our ancestors did in 1937. And I will tell you right now, I don't consider us to be any better than them or any different than them. And if there was something that they were willing to go through, I feel that we should do our best to honor that legacy. And when we look at, because it goes in line with the 1920 convention, that's where we were 30 days, day and night, Harlem, New York. But again, we have to look at the sacrifices that our ancestors were willing to make and the progress that they were able to make for us, and compare that to the sacrifices that our people are willing to make today, and the position and the progress that we're able to make as a people. And I think that those two things, you find that they're very closely related. But thank you, Sister Brenda. Thank you, Brother Omasius, and thank you, Brother Andrew, as well, for that question. But yes, long exam, focused on this course, and focused on this course. Second part of the question: why is man limited in life and death? Why is man limited? How did Garvey say that man was limited in life and death? Knows how insufficient he is between life and death. I know, see, we got a lot of people that ain't got their books open. I know that Brother Art has his book. I believe Sister Brenda has her book.
Yeah, he's born without knowledge and dies without will.
Yes. So why can no man say that there is no God? That was the first half of the question, because no man is like God. In lesson 6 was titled, no, 6 was Christ, 5 was God. In lesson 5, God, Garvey talked about how he viewed God as universal intelligence, and how he viewed man as unitary intelligence. So man being a part of the universal intelligence, but you can't compare the knowledge of a unit to the knowledge of a universe. So we don't have that knowledge, so we can't. That's something that we can't speak on, really. And that's how, and when I say we can't speak on it, we can't speak on it from a position of confidence. And that's what Garvey teaches us is, we must be confident, we must be knowledgeable, so that when we do speak on things, our head is in line with our heart. It's not just intellect, but it's passion behind what we're saying, because we really believe it. And if you're speaking on something that is beyond your intellect, how can you truly, believe it? It goes back to, well, it's a lot of things, but Garvey says that man is born without his knowledge and die without his will or wish. So we're not even in control of our life and death, but we think that we can speak on the existence of God. Questions, comments? Okay, next question. What two things should we not say about God? What two things should we not say when speaking about God or talking about God?
That we are God and that God don't exist.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Let me see. Some men call it by different names, but they all mean the same thing as it is God. Therefore, man says, there is no God. He is a fool, for he is not as great as God. Join no one in saying there is no God, and join no man in saying he is God, for this is blasphemy. So let me go back. Pretty straightforward. There is no God and that man is God. Questions, comments on that one? And again, these are, I'm not asking us to, I'm not trying to indoctrinate anyone to believe this. As Garvey said in the beginning, if we don't agree with it, if our logic doesn't gel with it, then you can throw it out. But as leaders of the UNIA, we should know Garvey's philosophy. And this is Garvey's philosophy. So he says that we should not say that there is no God, and we should not say that man is God. No questions? All right, number 11. I know it says 2, but it's number 11. Why should we not fear God? Come on, y'all. We still got a whole nother lesson to go through. Why should we not fear God?
God is with us.
God is with us.
And we love him. We love God.
With us, we love him.
And we are part of him.
We are part of him. It's something, y'all. Let me see. Yes, everything is right. Let me see if I got it in here. Yeah, there it is. And we shouldn't fear him because let me see. If you love God, you need not fear him. You fear God only when you are conscious of being evil or wicked. So if we know that we ain't being evil or wicked, why should we fear God? That's something that, I was looking at the wrong thing, but you love God and work with, let me see, fear God, but love God. If you love God, you need not fear God, for God is with you and you are part of him in your goodness. You fear God only when you are conscious of being evil or wicked. So unless we plan on being evil or wicked, or we are conscious that we're actively being evil or wicked, that's another reason why we should not fear God. But as everyone also said, the positive side, we are a part of God. God loves us. So it's a duality, Questions, comments? Okay. Number 3, how are we able to handle man without fearing him? And this goes back to the lesson on man, actually, because Garvey taught that we should treat man as a wicked being until we get to know him ourselves personally. So how are we able to handle men and women without fearing them?
By understanding.
I believe so. What does that mean?
That we listen to Garvey and we know the nature of man, we know what he's capable of, and we don't let him put anything over us.
Pretty much. Yes, you know what to expect. So although they may be dangerous, or it's like I'm trying to think of how to, the best way I can think of is like approaching a venomous snake, like, the snake is venomous. So you're not going to put yourself in a vulnerable position because the intentions of the individual. And if you do have to put yourself in a close proximity, then you make sure you're well protected, you know, and well guarded and surrounded. But we should know what to expect from man, so therefore we should not fear them. Questions, comments? 11, 12. Number 13. How do you allow other men to master you in a meeting? How do we allow men to master us?
By not mastering ourselves?
By not mastering ourselves, we allow men to master us. I like it, Brother Macias. I respect it. But there's something when you master yourself, there's a behavior and a characteristic that you display.
You look him in the eye.
There we go. Never cringe before the stare of another man. Let me see. The first time you take your eyes off him because of his stare, he conquers you because you are unprepared. But it is through the stare, you know, when they are able to maintain eye contact, but you're not, Garvey considers that's, you know, it's a sign of an individual mastering you. Questions, comments? We need to go to the text. What? I feel like this is a duplicate. What characteristic of man conquers man? It's the stare. I think it's the stare. Ooh, no, it's not the stare. What characteristic of man conquers man?
His will.
You in there. What characteristic of man conquers man? His will.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence. Yes.
I want to say confidence.
Yep. So Garvey says the daring look of man. Wait, the daring look of man conquers man. Hold on, that should be in there too. The daring look. The self-comp. Well, it's a lot of things. What did I put? Let me see. Yeah, I got all that. Okay. Got all that. So the daring look of man conquers man, self-confidence of man conquers man, strong character of man conquers man. The conqueror is the fellow with the boldest and longest stare. He hypnotizes his victim and walks over him like a worm. So, but again, going back to being confident, going back to having your own will, having your own intelligence. You know, we should be confident. We should be able to hold people's stares, you know, and we should not bow or feel inferior when meeting individuals. Questions, comments? When is God pleased with man? When is God pleased with man?
When he takes self-initiative.
When he takes self-initiative, you're trying to just use the title. In a sense, but how does that look when a man takes or a woman takes self-initiative?
That's what I asked myself.
Well, Garvey got the answer.
I know, and I could.
Who's got the answer? What makes God pleased with man? All right, y'all playing.
God is pleased when we take our rightful position, when man lifts himself to his true position.
Yes. Yes, when we stand in the position that God intended for us. So previously, Garvey talked about God didn't make us to be inferior, you know, and by us accepting a position of inferiority, that's actually a disgrace to God and his purpose for us. So Garvey is saying, you know, basically, it's ungodly for us not to have a backbone. It's ungodly for us to serve others.
Not to segue, but I had this mentor one time, and he was in his spiritual code, economic code. He said it was a sin to take a wage and not be a business owner.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. That's the same thing. Anyone else? Questions, comments?
You know what? If everybody's a business owner, and nobody takes a wage, how does the business succeed?
We all would be 1099 independent contractors.
Well, not see. Although Macy's has a unique view on the world, but in reality, I would, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say in reality, but in my opinion, and I think reality reflects this. Some people prefer to have a wage. I'll just put it that way.
People also prefer to let people lead them and make masters over them as well.
That's where I was going. That's exactly what I'm saying.
And that's my point, that you can't be a leader if you don't have some followers. And so if you're putting your followers down as being, what did you say, like sinners because they're followers, yeah, there's something wrong with you then. If you're leading them and you think they're sinners, then you need to be trying to teach them not to follow you. And maybe that's what we should be doing, but yeah. And I understand, Brother Macias. I've worked as a 1099 wage earner for decades.
Yep. But yeah, it's just taking it out of the individual. Again, this is about us as a race. So when we look at our race, we don't want our race as a whole to be applying for wages. We would rather our race as a whole be the business owners, be the employers rather than the employees.
Yes.
All right, next question. Let's see. Next question. So when is God pleased with man? When man lifts himself to his true position in his kingdom of earth and heaven. So when we stop, crawling around for other people and we stand up for ourselves. What should we ask God for and what should we not ask God for?
I thought you said don't ask for wisdom. I thought, and then ask for something else instead. But I could be off.
Wait, say that again?
From my memory, it sounded like I remember him contradicting what Solomon asked for wisdom. My memory, but I could be wrong. And it was something else. But the don't ask for, I think he said, was wisdom. I don't know.
You said don't ask for wisdom?
I thought he replaced it with something more practical.
It's ask for wisdom.
And don't ask for what?
Particular thing, I think.
Material things.
Okay. Yeah.
So let me go to the book on this one. I think this is valid enough. Let me see. Where is that at? Oh, there it is. Okay. But yes, this is important. You just got it switched around, Brother Macias. But
yeah,
when we think about it, we've got to internalize. We got to internalize this message. So in this paragraph, Garvey says, if you ask God for wisdom and understanding, you have everything else, because with wisdom and understanding, you will be able to take care of yourself. So wisdom and understanding, I think he said strength and some other things as well. Look to God, ask him for strength, ask him for courage in righteousness, and you will be able to battle the world of men. So ask for strength, ask for courage of righteousness, ask God for wisdom and understanding. So once we have these things, everything else with wisdom, because you have everything else with wisdom and understanding, you will be able to take care of yourself. Therefore, never pray to God for particular things, for individual things. He has already given all that is necessary for your existence and creation, and he has placed you as Lord and Master over them. Then why worry him in further praying for these things? So it's like praying to God for a car or a house. If God gives you wisdom and understanding, then you have the ability to acquire these things. So he's already blessed you, and now it's time for us to apply lesson 14 and have some self-initiative and apply the intelligence that God has given us, apply the wisdom and understanding that God has given us, so that we can acquire the things that we want: the shoes, the cars, the houses, the job, or whatever it may be that people want. So questions, comments on that?
I think it was the strength and the courage part that I remember. It was like, it was something else that was there that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
That was the part.
Garvey expands on, and I like this. He says, it is a waste of time. It is annoying. It is disgusting to God, if God can be disgusted. Seek ye first wisdom and understanding, and all life will unfurl itself to you through God. So, lesson 1, intelligence, education, universal knowledge, and how to get it. If we just spun our wheels on lesson 1 and applied the teachings of lesson 1 daily, reading 4 hours a day. He talked about reading periodicals, twice a year, monthly, and how much knowledge you'd have at the end of the year, reading religious scriptures. If we just, spun our wheels on that alone, our ability to build and acquire, should be pretty great, in my opinion. So if you have that knowledge, then why do you need, once God has given you the ability to get for yourself, why do you need to ask God for that thing, that he's giving you the ability to get? All right, 9:08. We got to move because we went through 2 lessons last week, and we're not skipping nothing. So question 19, what should we seek first so that life will unfurl itself to us through God? I think we just went through that. What should we seek first so that life will unfurl itself through God? Wisdom, I believe wisdom and understanding. Yeah. Wisdom and understanding. So in this core of self-initiative, we talked about will being our decision being our intelligence. We must acquire this intelligence. We must ask God for what was it? Wisdom and understanding. And I believe those are synonymous with intelligence. So if we have these things, we should be able to apply our own self-initiative. If we're lacking these things, then I understand, other people doing things for us. But we as a people, we must mature, we must organize and develop our mentality as well as our national self-initiative. Otherwise, others will continue to, use our initiative for their own benefit. Last question for lesson 14. What are the receptacles for wisdom and understanding in the body? What are the receptacles for wisdom and understanding? Where does Garvey say that we can find wisdom and understanding?
The mind and soul.
The mind and the soul. Yes, sir. Garvey says the mind and the soul are receptacles of understanding and wisdom. Cleanse them with protection and approach the source who giveth them, and you shall be eternally blessed. Mind and souls, we got to keep them clean and stay tapped in to the source, God, so that we can remain eternally blessed. Questions, comments on self-initiative? Okay. All right. Jump down to lesson 15. Got 16 questions. So we got to run through these. Number one, a thing to, as Garvey starts with a quote, a thing to impress the world with is your own personality. End quote. What should our personality make people think about us? When people think about our personality, what word should it be not synonymous with? 4 words.
Serious?
No, not mysterious.
Okay, serious.
Not just serious. There's more to it, but yes, serious is there. But we must also be kind as well. But I guess you could be serious and kind at the same time. But when people think about our personality as leaders, as Garveyites, what does Garvey say that they should? All right, y'all playing with me.
Focused and serious?
I respect it, Brother Macias. He says perfection, though.
Is it good and clean?
Yes, good and clean, but it ends in perfection.
Okay.
A thing to impress the world with is your own personality. Your makeup as a man or woman must be so clean cut as to leave nothing to suggest the incompleteness of a perfect person. So it's a tough task, but it's a mighty goal for us to pursue. So that's just the first summary of what Garvey says about personality. And yeah, okay. Number 2, man is always disposed to respect and honor those who show themselves observant to all rules of manly what and what. Man is always disposed to respect and honor those who show themselves observant of all rules of manly what and what.
Dignity and character.
Dignity and character. It ain't hygiene. Let me see. I trust you. Let me see. Dignity and character, page 118. Let's see. 118, where is it at? Can't be on 118. Is it on 118 or 119? All right, I ain't gonna. I'm not gonna spend too much time. Okay, dignity and character. It's in there somewhere. I wasn't even on the right. Y'all didn't see that. So, why should we always be clean cut and presentable? Why should we always be clean cut and presentable?
People won't trust you.
Because people won't trust you.
They'll think you're raising the money for yourself. I think he was talking about.
I remember that. That's great memory.
Something about being incompetent or something, right?
Being incompetent. People might think you're incompetent.
Incomplete, or no, maybe it's incomplete. Complete or something of a perfect. I don't remember. Never mind. I know I'm close. I gotta say.
You want to gain the respect of people.
Gain the respect of people.
But the incompleteness of a perfect person.
That was it. That was the first one.
Oh, okay, I'm tripping. Never mind.
Let me see. The moment you throw off the reserve of your personality, you invite disrespect for your person, because by that very good appearance, you may win the support to get you out of your difficulties. So we should always be clean cut and presentable, because even if we are, basically, he said, even if we are in a bad time, you don't have a lot of money in your pocket, money in the bank, you being clean cut and presentable may create the opportunity that you've been looking for. I think the best example is, well, y'all may not know, but if everybody's seen Barbershop 1, there was a brother that was like broke and he didn't have no job, but he came in to the barbershop and got a haircut. And then he couldn't afford the haircut and he ran out. But he came back and he had a suit on and everything. So he had on like his nice clothes, but he needed a haircut to get an interview. But he came back later in the end of the movie and paid, for the haircut because he was able to get the interview based on his appearance, even though he didn't have, what he portrayed. But I hope that makes sense. Okay, questions, comments? All right. When we present ourselves, what is the world always looking for first? This is this is something we talked about in the earlier lesson. So this is coming back. This is Garvey repeating himself. It must be important. When we present ourselves, what is the world always looking for first?
Our character? What we
What's
know?
that? What's that?
What we know?
No. Something about, I heard clothing, but it wasn't on. Okay, y'all playing. When we present ourselves, what is the world always looking for first? This is a repeat. I'm a little disappointed that we don't know this off the top of our heads. But I believe it's defects.
Defects.
Yes.
Yeah.
The world is always looking for defects first. So I believe it was on the lesson on elocution, where Garvey was talking about being a public speaker. And he said, the first thing that I think he said it a different way. He said the first thing that they will remember is your mistakes, but this is more in an appearance realm, but it's the same thing. People are always looking to criticize first. So, yeah, and Brother Mason, you should remember, because there was another question that said, how do we disappoint the world? And you had answered it. I remember you answered it. We disappoint the world by not giving them the mistakes that they're looking for.
President, there's so many questions. I've been trying to figure out where he's coming from in this question.
But I mean, that's the importance of the course. And that's why I said, like, some of these things build on previous lessons. So we have to have a good, solid foundation. And that is where, if I don't know the answer to a question, I usually go back to the foundation. Garvey is not, and that's why. So, when we talk about this text has 22 written lessons, but it's over 42 lessons. I'm pretty sure some of the unwritten lessons are, repeats or very similar to what he's saying here, because he even in what he's written in the 22 lessons, there's some aspects of repeating itself. So, and again, when things repeat, for me, that's a flag. That's a, hey, wait a minute, this was important enough for him to say it twice. So that's it. That's something to take away. To maintain a good personality, you must maintain all the rules of what?
Conduct.
Conduct?
Yes, I think I remember that.
All right. Hygiene.
Hygiene. Oh, man.
So, yeah, I mean, I like that. That's in the character realm of conduct. Well, I think hygiene is too, but just repeating, Garvey talked about how our hygiene is an important aspect of our confidence. you know, and yeah, here he's talking about personality, but a lot of it is kind of like ethics and hygiene, you know, just presenting a clean image. So hygiene. Okay. What leadership characteristic does your appearance affect? I just said this. So in lesson 2, we talked about some characteristics of leadership. And this question is asking you, which one of those characteristics does your hygiene affect most? It probably affects all of them.
Your confidence.
Your confidence. We talked about this earlier. I don't want to elaborate on it too much, but we know when we're not clean. We know, well, sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know when our body is giving off an odor, but the environment will let you know, and that does not give off a good personality. Having bad hygiene is not synonymous with a good personality. Number 7, what does a perfect personality made through proper care of oneself give you?
Besides confidence?
Besides confidence.
A passport to anywhere in the world.
Yep. Oh, shoot. Passport to anywhere in the world, socially and otherwise. But a person with a good personality is someone that you always want to be around, so it gives you a passport to the world, socially and otherwise. So questions, comments so far? We got a few more, and we are definitely going to be overtime tonight. So next question. Any questions so far? All right. Number 8, what should we not do at a public platform or in a public?
Eat chew gum.
Eat chew gum. You got detailed. Eat in public was Garvey said we should not eat in public. Let me go to the text on that one because I know that's going to be taken out of context. People like, man,
Was that a previous lesson too?
Was that?
It was in the previous lesson as well, right?
Eating in public.
I thought.
He talked about eating. I remember him saying like you should eat before, if you're hungry, you should eat before you get to a public space so that you're not being greedy in front of other people. That was one thing that he said.
Right.
So here he says, no matter how hungry you are, don't take your meals while walking and never eat as an individual at a public meeting before the audience. You will lose their respect immediately for not having regular meal hours and having your meal in improper place with social regulations have been established. A public platform is not a restaurant nor a dining room. So public platform. Trying to think what he means by that. A public platform is not a restaurant or a dining room. Don't eat or even chew gum. Yeah, you're right. In people's faces. It is always an ugly sight and shows gross disrespect for company. You may chew your gum in your home, but not on a public platform, nor at a public meeting. So we should not eat at a public platform. Questions, comments?
I think the public platform is like a mass meeting or any kind of public meeting.
HEC and convention, stuff like that.
Yeah, but not only limited to the UNIA, but any kind of public meeting, city council meeting, wherever, right?
Said church, business meetings. Okay. Questions, comments on that?
I have a comment that I don't think this means that you can't eat in public, like if there's a restaurant or if it's a buffet, that kind of thing. But he's saying if you're on a public platform, that's not the place to eat. You don't want to be eating when others are not.
Got you. Questions, comments? Okay, all right. All right, we spent quite a bit on that. How many suits do we need? And also, how and why should we maintain our suits? How many suits do we need, and how and why should we maintain them?
I think he said one if you keep it clean.
Yes, I remember that from, I think that was an elocution as well. He said we only needed one suit if we keep it clean. Keep it clean. Let's see. Yeah, so keep one suit and keep it well kept. So I believe he elaborated on this one. He said, I'll go to the text. I don't want to, but I remember he said, you know, it's better to have one suit, keep it clean rather than being a dirty person and having different clothes. Yeah. It is better for the public to say that man has been wearing that suit for a year, but it has always been well kept. Than for the public to say that man changes his clothes, but he is always dirty. So. One second. Okay. Let me get back to this. Back to the Garveyism. Number 10. What does Garvey mean when he says that we should disappoint the public audience? I apologize. I thought we did this earlier. I could have sworn we did this earlier. Not me just saying it, but I thought we did this like a couple weeks ago. Go ahead.
They're hoping you fail. You should disappoint them or make a mistake.
So they're scrutinizing us head to foot, back to front. Disappoint them always by giving them the best you have in character. So they're looking for defects. We got to disappoint them. Ain't no defects here. You're not gonna find what you're looking for. What was the story of the two beggars? What was Garvey communicating with the story of the two beggars?
No, he gave one a sovereign and one a penny because one looked clean and the other didn't, or one had asked for more and the other didn't.
You had an 80%. Anybody want to help him? You got most of it though. But I don't want to mess this one up either. Let me see. I looked at a man. He was a beggar. His shoes were broken in many places and very dirty. His clothes were ragged and torn in many places. His collar was swarthy, black, and revealed dirt everywhere. His fingernails were black and dirty. His teeth were unkempt. His breath was foul. His shirt was black with dirt. He asked me for help. I gave him a penny and walked away because I thought it was enough because he could not appreciate the use of more. I saw another beggar whose clothes were poor but clean. His pants revealed poverty, but they were also clean. I gave him a sovereign because I thought he could appreciate the use of it. There is a moral. People will judge you by your appearance, whether you are rich or poor, and they will deal with you accordingly. So it was just a matter of the perception that the beggars gave as to what they would do with the funds that Garvey gave him. Garvey gave them. So we should always have an image that is presentable, that encourages support and encourages the idea that if we did get support, we would use them in the proper ways. So, questions, comments? What are some things that we should never make it a custom to carry?
Grief on our shoulders.
Was that
Grief on our shoulders.
grief? Yes. Yep. And why?
Because people judge by your posture first too, as well. That's the best way I can say it. They judge by your posture. Your posture tells about how you feel about yourself.
Anybody else want to add? Posture tells how you feel about yourself. Do not carry grief on your shoulders. What should we never carry?
Distress on our face.
Yes, ma'am. Garvey says, never make it a custom to carry distress on your face or in your eyes. So I feel like he said this in a previous lesson, but this thing is starting to run in circles in my head. Never make it a custom to carry distress on your face or in your eyes. Never carry yourself as to suggest despondency or overburdening sorrow. Yeah, I remember now. In a previous lesson, Garvey talked about smile even though your mother is dead, so we shouldn't, no matter what we're going through, the world don't really care. They care, but things still have to be done, and the work still has to be done. So we must carry on and proceed with a smile on our face. And this is not necessarily, I don't think this is for a private setting, but this is, we were just talking about a public platform. So I'm not saying don't seek therapy and things like that, but as leaders, we have to know how to, carry our emotions in our back pocket, and put on a show. We talked about diplomacy and how, given certain circumstances, Garvey allows us to do certain things and to say certain things. But here he's saying, no matter what we're going through, we can't carry that with us out into the world. Never carry yourself as to suggest despondency or overburdening sorrow. People will learn to shun you. Keep smiling, keep being pleasant all the time, even if you are dying. It is better to be a pleasant corpse than a hideous, ugly-looking one. Show distress only when you may win help from those you approach, but be sure that you have struck a right estimate of your sympathizers. To show sorrow to those not interested is to drive them away from you. Never show it to those who are not interested. Questions, comments? Right. A couple more questions, and we got our reading. If we are going begging for a cause like UNIA, what must we not do? I think I know this one. Going begging for a cause like the UNIA, what must we not do?
Not look dirty.
I think that's what it is. Well, be a personal beggar. So, yeah.
I remember that too.
If you are going begging for yourself, don't go flashily. If you are going begging for a cause like the UNIA, you must not go as a revealed personal beggar. You would cause the person to say to himself, why should I give him for a cause? Why should I give him money for a cause when he looks like someone who begs for himself and cannot be trusted with such philanthropic responsibility? So again, this lesson is called personality, but it has a lot to do with appearance and confidence. Any questions, comments on the previous? Okay. How do we win a good reputation in the community? Having a good personality. How do we win a good reputation in community?
Being kind to others.
Being kind to others, I like that. Garvey said something else. Yeah, this ain't that great. It probably won't make it to the exam, but win a good reputation in community by being up to date in your personality. Let your individuality stand out clearly. Every man has an individuality. He is known by that individuality. The background of that individuality should be his clean-cut personality. So being clean, and you know, having your own personality, I think is what Garvey's saying, but that's not going, you know, it's not going to make it to the exam. Don't worry about it. But it's just as we go through this, one of the challenges was to make sure that we're pulling out as much information as possible. So almost every paragraph that Garvey says can be converted into a question. What characteristic can undo a good personality besides hygiene? What characteristic can undo a good personality? Let's say dishonesty or something. Okay. Dishonesty was the first thing that came to mind. Anybody? Lack of confidence can undo your good personality.
Being lazy.
Being lazy. I think that's the one. I think that's the one. Laziness. Don't be lazy in whatever you have to do, because that laziness will grow on you and people will observe you and mark you as being lazy. If the news circulates, it will undo you. So let me see. But it's, I forgot the phrase. It's like good habits create good character create a good life, or something like that. But it's the habits that we do, it's the things that people seeing us do over and over that creates our character and our personality. So if we start to be lazy, if we start to develop a what's the word called, reputation of laziness, then our good personality will be undone. They'll know that, you know, it's all BS. Last question. How is your reputation tied to your name? How is your reputation tied to your name?
What people know you by.
What people know you by?
Synonymous. Synonymous with your name.
What people know you by, synonymous with your name. What you mean? That's right. You're right. Let me see. Let me see. You're right, but let me see. Garvey says he relates it to like creating something or doing a job, basically. If you find a thing to do as your job or occupation, do it well and show interest in it until you have decided to do something else. But while you are doing it, do it to the best of your ability and put your personality and individuality behind it, because somebody observing or coming after you will say, quote, this thing was done well by Jones or badly by Jones, end quote. Your reputation is at stake. So whether you sweeping the floor, washing a car, doing accounting, you know, creating a presentation. And again, you know, this is funny because I just mentioned this earlier in the call, but anything that we create, anything that you put your name behind becomes part of your reputation. So how that thing is done, whether it's done well or done poorly, becomes a part of your reputation. So questions, comments on that? That's the last question. Yeah, this was done well by Jones or done poorly by Jones. But yeah, well, even if you know, I want, that was something that I grew to appreciate in school, was putting my name on my work, you know. But that is, you know, you are known we are known by our work, and we must be, we must have a good record of good work. Any questions, comments before we go to the reading for today? We're probably gonna go to about 10 o'clock tonight. Hopefully that's all. All right. Let's see. Brother Macy's, will you be reading for us?
Got you, brother.
Thank you, my brother. And excellent job, everybody. Why do I feel like, hold on, man. Hold on. Oh no, oh man. Oh. We're gonna come back to, so there was one more slide on personality. So hold off to that. I thought it kind of ended early, but we'll come back to this next week with propaganda. So we'll finish up the questions for personality and then have questions for propaganda as well. It is 9:41. Brother Macias, you have the floor.
Lesson 16, propaganda. Propaganda means to propagate or to make known extensively some particular phase of human intelligence. The desire is to convert or influence the people to the acceptance of the truth of that particular intelligence that is sought to be spread among them. Propaganda can be true or false in its origin or intent, but it is always directed at the public for the purpose of winning the support of that public to the sentiment expressed in the propaganda. If you hate a man, giving him a bad name well may explain one of the purposes of propaganda without truth behind it. Oh, scroll up, brother.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah, I'm over here talking.
Nearly all organized efforts have a system of propaganda to convert people to their principles and get them to support them, even though there may be no merit behind it all. Propaganda is all around you to make you buy a special brand of cigarettes, although no good, but advertised to be the best, to make you drink or use a certain brand of tea, telling you of its wonderful qualities and its everlasting benefits, when there is absolutely nothing to it, and so on. Before the War of 1914 to 1918, the Germans were known to be the most cultured and scientific people in Europe. When the war started, the other nations, in order to discredit the Germans and to hold them up to world ridicule and the content of civilization, released the propaganda that classified the Germans as Huns and barbarians. This also reveals how organized intention can be carried to the public for public acceptance without thought. The press, cinema, pulpit, schoolroom are all propaganda agencies for one thing or the other. The pulpit carries religious propaganda. The schoolroom carries educational propaganda. The press carries out written propaganda. The platform carries on oral propaganda. The cinema carries out demonstrative propaganda. These methods have been devised by the white man to spread his ideals universally among men. That is why he is able, in a major sense, to control the minds of the people of the world. The white man is a great propagandist. He fully and completely realizes the value of propaganda. Therefore, you must organize your propaganda to undo the propaganda of other people if their propaganda affects your interest. The Bible is religious propaganda. The school book is literary propaganda. The novels and books you read are also literary propaganda, all calculated to bring about certain results beneficial to the propagandist. Never forget them that you are surrounded. Never forget then that you are surrounded by a world of propaganda, all dressed up or cooped up to suit a doubtful public that is not careful about what it digests from without. The artist is also a propagandist. He paints pictures to convey the idea he wants to impress upon the non-thinking and doubtful public. The sculptor is also a propagandist. He chisels figures and portrays them to suit the aim or purpose he wants to achieve. The pictures of the Madonna and Christ and of the angels are painted portraying a white race so as to inflict upon the rest of the world the belief that God, the angels, and the Holy Family are all white, as well as Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve were black. They also paint the devil and the imps of hell black to impress upon the world the belief that all that is black is evil and all that is white is good and holy. Tear from your walls all pictures that glorify other races. Tear up and burn every bit of propaganda that does not carry your idea of things. Treat them as trash. When you go to the cinema and you see the glorification of others in the pictures, don't accept it. Don't believe it to be true. Instead, visualize yourself achieving whatever is presented. And if possible, organize your propaganda to that effect. You should always match propaganda with propaganda. Have your own newspaper, your own artists, your own sculptures, your own pulpits, your own platforms. Print your own books and show your own motion pictures and sculpture your own subjects. Never accept as your subjects of another race, but glorify all the good in yourselves. Keep your homes free and clear of alien objects of glorification of other races. Otherwise, your children will grow up to adore and glorify other people. Put in the place of others the heroes and noble characters of your own race. Never allow your children to play with or to have white dolls. It will give them the idea of having white children themselves. Give them the dolls of their own race to play with, and they will grow up with the idea of race, love, and race purity. Watch the newspapers, magazines, and journals daily for propaganda against your race or your institutions, particularly against the UNIA. Rush into print immediately in defense of your race, institutions, or organizations from any attack. Never allow an insult propagated to go unanswered by you. Be ever vigilant to down anything by way of propaganda that dishonors or discredits you. Don't help the other fellow to carry on propaganda against yourself or your race. All propaganda comes from that arranged desire of individuals and not from a race as a whole. It is the thinkers and leaders who originate propaganda. By inciting on its wide distribution, they get other people to think as they like. Don't accept the thoughts of others through propaganda unless it coincides with yours. Don't follow the band down the street because it plays sweet music to the propaganda of the circus manager. He may lead you into the circus tent and take away your pocketbook. That is to say, don't get on anybody's bandwagon because he may drive you to hell with his sweet music. Like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, who played his sweet pipe and led the rats out of the city and into the sea and drowned them. Propaganda organized by somebody else is always calculated to advantage of you, to take advantage of you. Don't help them do so. Always ask, what is this about? What is the object of this? Who has sent this out? What is he aiming at? Will it hurt me and my race? Is he trying to get an advantage over me? Is it honest? Is it true? If you ask these questions of all propaganda that comes up, before you swallow it, you will be able to take care of yourself. Don't sing the songs and repeat the praises that glorify other races. Sing your own songs and recite your own praises that glorify your own race. For instance, it is foolish for Negroes to sing or say Britons never shall be slaves when they themselves have been slaves and are likely to be slaves if they don't impress upon their mind that they, as Negroes, never be slaves again. Sing, therefore, Negroes never shall be slaves. Be careful how you sing religious hymns that have been written, dished up, and made popular by white writers to glorify the white race in the name of God. Taking advantage of the silence of God to impress inferiority upon your race, such as the great white wings of angels, the great white throne of God, wash me white as snow. All these are damnable, vicious forms of propaganda against the Black race. Though my sins be as scarlet, they shall be whiter than snow. Wash me in the blood, and I shall be whiter than snow. All these things reflect the propaganda designed by the white man to glorify his skin and his race as against the black imps of hell and the black devil and the black pale of doom. The idea of the white man making black a symbol of mourning and sadness is just to show the extreme of the purity of whiteness and its joy and happiness. Reverse this. If possible, teach the Negro that when he is in mourning, he should wear white, and when he is happy, to wear black. This is meeting propaganda with propaganda, the hatchet with the hatchet, the stick with the stick, and the stone with the stone. Everything on earth is man's creation. So out of man's propaganda and mind, he has created his special systems of opinion to meet his designs. Therefore, customs are based upon acceptance of propaganda skillfully engineered. Have your own propaganda and hand it down through the ages. Write your own poetry and recite it. Compose your own songs and sing them. Write your own interpretation of the scriptures and history and teach them as far as the interpretation of others affect your race. Challenge the thought of any book of other literature that dishonors and discredits you in any particular way, and give it the widest publicity so as to undo the harm intended. Remember always that an error not corrected ultimately becomes a fact. Never allow false statements or allegations against your race to become current and pass into history as if they were facts. War. War is the hellish passion of man let loose in opposition to man. It sums up the cruelty of man towards man. It always aims at the stronger, taking advantage of the weaker to gain that which could not have been acquired otherwise because of the failure to use human reason. War comes when man failed to adjust their differences with reasoning. Always be prepared for the exhibition of the vilest passions of men in war. Man has always warred against his fellow man. It started with Cain against Abel and has continued down through the ages and shall ever be so as long as man remain an unreasonable creature. No generation has shown that man intends to become wholly reasonable. Therefore, in time of peace, prepare for war so as not to be caught unprepared by your enemy, who will naturally be the stronger if he is prepared while you are not prepared in using the implements of warfare. War not a good thing, but man is also not a good being. You must expect war from his disposition. All things are fair in war to win the advantage over your enemy. When there is war, use all the implements at your disposal to defeat your enemy. Do not discuss your terms while you are warring. Discuss them after you are victorious. When war comes, all resources of intelligence and wealth, all utilities are placed at the service of those who conduct the war to make them victorious on behalf of those for whom they are warring. Therefore, have in view the obtaining and controlling of all such resources, factors, and utilities that may be necessary as ammunitions of war. There may be righteous wars as well as unrighteous wars, depending entirely upon the civilization that makes the war or defends itself in war. It may be war to put down human abuse in favor of human virtue. The war makers have always justified war in some way or another. If you become engaged in a war, always have justification for your engagement. If the war is not yours, get something out of it because you go into it and complete it for the good of others. Never go into war foolishly. Never sacrifice your life without good results for your cause. War is the best time to take advantage of your transgressor, whoever he may be. Whenever he's engaged in war and he promises you nothing, you will never get anything from him in time of peace. Therefore, during the time of war, make your bargains before you help anybody else in war. If you are suffering from the abuses of others and there should be a threat of war against them, form some other source, encourage it because it will be your chance to force a square deal. The more other people war amongst themselves, the stronger you become if you exercise good judgment. Divide your enemies so as to gain your advantage. Always keep them divided so as to be able to gain the advantage. Your only hope of escaping the hate and prejudice of the other people is to keep them severally occupied with other problems. If they have nothing else to attend to, they will concentrate on you and your problems will be aggravated. While others have gone to war, try to be at peace among yourselves to gather the spoils of war. Never talk war openly to your enemies, but be prepared for war. If you talk it, they will become prepared, waiting for you. Keep the other races divided and fighting each other as much as you can as to take advantage for yourselves. If they have no other problems to occupy their time, they will turn to you and turn on you. Keep them occupied otherwise. The more confused they are worrying over their troubles, the more time you will have to get out of your trouble. Propaganda, lesson 16.
Thank you, Brother Macius. That completes the reading for lesson 16 titled Propaganda. I'm getting ready to go through the roll, but while we do that, I'll open the floor. Any questions, comments on the lesson propaganda? $17. Okay. Okay, let me go through the roll really quick and we will call it an evening. Get some rest. 1 second. So I got Brother Andrew first. Let's see. Andrew, Brother Anthony. Anthony, Brother Art. Sister Brenda. Sister Brenda, Elon, Shabazz. Wait a minute. Oh, here you go. Excuse me. Brother Everett. Brother Everett dropped off for a second. Galaxy Z Fold 4. Let me know who you are and what division you with.
It's Brother Charles,
All right, Brother Charles.
330.
Yes, sir. I think, no, I got you in here. I know this not your first class. Oh man.
Row 6.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yep. All right. I was about to say, because when I put his name in there, it popped up. Thank you, Brother Charles, Third Assistant President General, and Brother Ken Wardo, and Sister Erica. Was there anybody else that joined and dropped off? Do y'all know? Ken Wardo, Sister Erica. Okay. Here she go. Mama Amina, she tried. Brother Andrew, I got him. Brother Art got him. Okay. Oh, Brother Macy's. That's crazy.
Brother.
Hold on, why your name not on there? That's crazy. Oh, there it is. Okay, I had to. All right, I think I got everybody. 9:59. Thank you for everybody for staying on late. And we should be back on schedule next week. And we should be able to finish by 9:35 next week. So I'm not gonna hold everybody any longer. Any comments in closing? No comments. Okay.
I got one. Just thanks again to Brother Amacius for reading. Otherwise, we would still be here if I was reading. So I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, he's Brother Macy's been holding it down for us.
That is true.
Yes.
Brother Macy's be sounding like an audio book.
Yeah.
Yo, we need to do that for real. Stop playing. Get my man paid. Shoot.
Appreciate it, brother. Elocution.
Yes, sir. And institution,
Right.
you know, we need to do that before somebody else do it. Do it right. All right. Thank you, brothers and sisters. We will close out and get some rest. If you would, come off mute, put your black fists in the air, and repeat after me. One God.
One God.
One God.
One aim.
One
One
aim.
aim.
One destiny.
One destiny.
One destiny.
Africa.
Africa.
For the Africans.
For the
Africans.
Those at home.
Those at home.
And those abroad.
Those are
Those abroad.
Race first, family.
Peace first. Peace, everybody.
Peace. Oh, man.